Okay, here we go. So in this video, we're going to introduce objects, sort of. Not really introducing them, because we've been dealing with objects this whole entire time. You may not have known it, but yes, we have. So let's get into it. Let's talk about them. What are objects? Well, in JavaScript, everything is an object, and objects are everything, the whole thing. We've been working with objects this whole entire time. What are their containers? So they're data storage, um, but the data is not only stored, but it's classified. Okay. What I mean by that is we're able to provide more information to the object. We can classify them into different categories or what have you. With objects. So it's a little different. It adds an extra layer than, say, a variable or an array, which is also an object. But data is stored in objects by using a property or also key value pairs. And I believe we talked about like key value pairs at some point, but everything is in, like, we have this key value pair, and in JavaScript, everything we've discussed as far as is an object. In other words, the number is an object, like the data type number is an object, which is why we're able to do things with it. Strings are objects. We're able to do things particular for strings. Arrays are objects. Variables are objects. Functions even are objects. Everything is an object, and with that, they have certain properties. Um, and you've heard me mention property before, and that's what I'm referring to. So here's the syntax for an object here, and I always like to write that out. So let's do that. Let me make this a little bit larger. There we go. So we have objects, and the syntax for an object is this here. We'll say var, we use the var keyword, the object name, so whatever the var object gets. And instead of doing a square bracket with an object, we store it inside of a curly brace, like so. And then in the object, we place our property or key value pairs. So I can say, here's a property, and then it's some value. And the key value pairs are separated by commas. So I know key value, and then another property. Sometimes you'll hear prop, same thing. And this is how we would build an object. Okay, this is one way to build an object. This is called the object literal. And that's the one we'll focus on for right now. But there are some other ways that you can actually build out an object. So here we go. There's two ways to access data from an object, because that's what we want to do, right? We don't want to just write the object, but we want to figure out how we can access information from this object. Okay, so let's do that. Here, I'm going to say var person gets, and then open my curly braces. Okay, and now we store the information. So we got f name, and that's Dwayne. Then L name, which is Johnson. We have an alias, The Rock. Occupation, future president of the United States. People don't like when I say that, but I'm like, where we're headed. President of the United States. Don't like it, do better. Other jobs. Wait, how do I do that? Let's see. Yes. other jobs. I got that in quotes, like so. And this would be an array, wrestler, and an actor. And age, at the time I was making this 51, and then is strong, set that to true. So here we go. This is our person. First name Dwayne, last name Johnson, alias The Rock. Occupation, President of the United States. Other jobs, wrestler, an actor, age 51, and is strong, set to true. So you can see here already with an object, and for each one of our properties, we can store any data type that we want to. We have strings, as you can see here. We can also store an array inside of an object. We can do a number. We can do Boolean. So we can store anything inside of an array, and there's so much more. Let's focus here on how we can access items from an object. And we have two ways to access data from an object. We have dot notation and bracket notation. Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, first we can see the properties and values are separated by colons. So we got F name colon Dwayne, and each pair is separated by a comma. So we have L name Johnson and then comma, alias The Rock, comma. So make sure, and this is one of the things that I see with newbies. Make sure that your properties and values are separated by colons, and then that pair, each pair is separated by a comma. Notice here that properties can be written with or without quotes, like occupation. Well, I didn't do it here, but I could. I could just say occupation, President of the United States. So the occupation's in quotes. Also, other jobs. You say here, if the property has multiple words like other jobs, you must use quotation marks or camel case. Okay. So in other words, for other jobs, I can't say other jobs. It doesn't work. You see, I get a squiggly line because there's an error right there. So right now, I'm just going to put that in quotes. So other jobs, that has to be in quotes. All right. So dot notation. One way to access data from an object is by using dot notation. And the syntax you see here is object.key. So let me put that up here. Dot notation syntax is object name dot key. Get the alias. Okay. If I say console.log, if I want to get the alias, which is The Rock, then using dot notation, I'm going to say person, which is the name of the object, dot, what's the key? The key is alias. And notice here in Visual Studio Code, when I type the name of the object and then I do dot, you can look here and see that all the properties are displayed there. That lets me know that I wrote this properly because Visual Studio Code understands that this is an object and it's going to display the properties there. And the one I want is the alias. So I'm just going to go down there and get person.alias. All right. And let's see if this works. Let's go live with this baby. And there we go. Did it again. You go over there. You come over here. I don't need you at all. And then I will take you and do that. There we go. Let's go to this console and refresh this. And there you see person.alias did console the rock. Because notice again, it didn't send me alias, it sent me the value that is stored in the property. I name my property alias. The value of it is the rock. When I console person.alias, it console the rock. So that's dot notation, okay? But what would happen if we try to access wrestler actor? Can we use dot notation? Let's try that. If I say console.log person dot other jobs, you look here and see what's happening. JavaScript doesn't like that. I get an error message. So using this dot and then open quotes and try to pass in other jobs, see that doesn't work. JavaScript doesn't like that. And so another way that we can access items is bracket notation. And the syntax for bracket notation is the name of the object, so object name, and then put square brackets, excuse me, and then the property. Like so. And yeah, I forgot to mention that the property name must be in quotes. Okay. So yeah, let me add that right there. So put that in quotes. So let's try that now. So let's fix this. So here on this person dot other jobs, we can't do that. Let's say person square brackets and then put in quotes other jobs. And when we do that, we get the array wrestler and actor. So these are we either use dot note, we use bracket notation. So yeah, let's look here. We see that person other jobs returns wrestler actor. But let's say we only wanted actor, okay? Because we have an array. Other jobs we can see is an array. So if I wanted actor, let's say I just wanted actor from this array, I would treat this like I would any other array. So I'm just going to say console.log person square brackets other jobs, and then I'm going to open a square bracket right on the outside of it. And since actor has an index value of 1, I put a 1 right there. And there you see that it returns actor. So because person.other jobs is an array, we can treat it like any other array, okay, and use bracket notation to get the information. It's pretty cool. I love the way the objects are structured, and it's really easy to get the data, do things with it once you understand how it works. Let's see here. More with bracket notation. We can also pass in a variable just like we would with an array um, to get the property name. Well, we can pass in a variable instead of the property name rather. So like here we have var work. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say var work is going to get the string occupation. So now I can say, hey, console.log person, and I can put in square brackets work. And what's going to happen here? Well, what will happen is this work is a variable that represents the string occupation. So it's the same thing as just saying person and in quotes occupation, which is going to return or log out President of the United States. Hope we can see that. Now, what we cannot do is if I say, come over here and say console.log person.work, I do person.work and I get undefined. Because this is a property, if you will, not a variable. So when I'm using dot notation, it is looking for the specific name of the property, not a variable. So let me make a little comment right there. That comes back undefined. And I'll say why. Using dot notation, it must be an actual property. All right. Cool. Let's look at some more stuff. Updating the objects. So if we want to change a value in an object, we write in the same way we would when changing the data in a variable. Okay, it's no different. So with the time I wrote these slides in May 2024, the future president will turn 52. We'll update it. So now May 25, so he'd be 53 now. So now let's reflect that. So to update data in an object, okay, we can say person.age gets 53. And that's it. And that's how we do it. If I console.log, watch this. We're going to console.log person. We haven't done that yet. When I console.log the entire object, let's look what happens. Oh, okay. You see there, it returns the entire object. First name, last name, alias, occupation, president of the United States, other jobs, etc. And when I open this up in the console, there you see a list of all the properties. There you can see the age has been updated. Notice here that in the object, and this is super important, and this is something that no one told me. I had to kind of figure this out on my own. The properties or the keys, see that they're listed in alphabetical order here. Okay, they are not listed in the order that I wrote them. In other words, see, I have first name, last name, alias, occupation, other jobs, age is strong. I have it written in this order. When I console it, yes, here it's listed in the order I wrote it. But when I go into it and look at this stuff, there you can see that it is not in the order that I wrote it. So what that lets us know is that objects are not what we call iterable. an array is iterable. And because an array is iterable, that means it has an index value. So we can loop through uh, arrays, using a for loop. Can't quite do the same thing with an object because it's not iterable. All right, so that's important to know. I don't know if I had any slides or not, but that's where I was. It's important to know. Here we can add new properties to an object. Yes, we can. What if we want to add a finishing move property to our person object? We can simply do it like this. Need to edit this some more. So we say person dot finishing move gets the people elbow. So let's do that. Come back over here to the code, and I'm going to say person dot finishing move. Notice that it's not in the original object, but here we're adding a property to it. So person dot finishing move is going to get, let me write that in double quotes, the people's elbow. And then what can we do? We console.log person. I'm just going to bring that down. Now we console.log person. There you can see that the people's elbow has been added to the object. So with objects, we can add properties to them when we want to. Sometimes we don't want to do that, and there's ways we can handle that. However, if we want to add a property to the object, that's all we have to do. We don't have to go and rewrite the entire object and then add something to it. We can just write a property on it. Just add it there. Cool. So we got all that. Now we're going to add a special kind of value to our person object. And we've already done this before. We're going to add a method. And we've seen methods, we talked about methods before. One method that we've been toying with this whole time is .log. Okay, and we console.log. The console is an object. Okay. And with that, it has properties and methods. .log is one of the methods that we've been using that prints out something to the console. Dot for each. We've played around with that. Dot for each is a method that is written on the array object that allows us to loop through an array in a declarative fashion. Dot push, dot pop, dot shift, dot unshift, dot length. We've already been working with some of these object. Dot to fixed, which works on numbers, right? Dot random on the math object. You kind of get where I'm going, to get hours and so on and so forth. So all these are methods that are on these particular objects. We're just learning how to create our own methods. So we're going to add this method to the person object. I'm going to say person.quote, and what this is going to be is a function. Okay, now I notice here I don't give it a name, okay, because this is a method. So I could just say function, open parentheses, and we're going to write the function out. So I got var message gets, can you smell what the rock is cooking? And then I'm going to add because I like how I can do this now. Where's that eyebrow? Where are you? Did I pass you? Ah, there we go. There's the eyebrow. So can you smell what the rock is cooking? And then the eyebrow. And then we'll just console.log. Or I'll do this return console.log message. There we go. If we run this, I can say person.quote, and don't forget my parentheses. And there you can see, can you smell what the rock is cooking? The eyebrow. Let me add let me put a question mark right there because it is a question. He is asking, can you smell what the rock is cooking? Not telling you that you can. How did I get the emojis? No, it's not. It's not a built-in extension. It is the function button. Somebody told me this last year. I learned this with my last cohort. I know how to do it myself. The function, the FN key, should be below your shift button. And I think that works for either Mac or PC. But yeah, it is not an extension. It's a key. Yeah, the window key. That's it. Thank you, Tyler, for the PCs and window key. For Mac daddies and Mac mamas, it's the function button. So there we go. I got all kinds of little tricks, you know. So there we go. That's how we create a method. Notice here with the method, I got the name of the method, which is quote, and then I'm saying function, open parentheses, and then I write my function out. So then this works like any other function. I call the function, but it is a method, and it will run. So let's talk about these methods. Methods are properties of an object that contain a function. Methods are able to access the data within an object and complete a task. So it's not exactly a function, it's a property that contains a function. Okay, so there's a little bit of difference to it. Okay, well, there's a really big difference, matter of fact. So here we go again. You should be familiar with a few methods by now, like console.log, array.push, array.pop. And in the slides, there's a link that gives differences between functions and methods. Okay, so let's look at one in particular. Okay, and this is kind of important. Okay, with a function, let's say I write a function right here. Be careful. Function, say hello. I'll just say function quote, and I'm going to just console.log. This is a function. All right, and that's all this function quote is doing. All right, so if I say quote, it's going to console this is a function. And we already see if I say person.quote, that is going to return, can you smell what the rock is cooking? All right, it's going to do that. Let me come up here, and I think it's going to work anyways. If I say quote right there, yeah, it's going to do the same thing. And again, this is a function because that's a whole nother lesson right there, which I didn't talk about functions. Functions, you can write a function anywhere. And if that function contains only contains local scope content, then you can run that function anywhere. meaning I can say, I can run quote up here, and you see it's written above the function, and it does say, hey, I don't know what a function is or anything. I don't know what quote is. Let me comment this out. Let me delete this one right here. And I'm going to comment out function quote right there. And when I run this, you'll see I get an error message. Uncaught reference error, quote is not defined. Because this is a function, okay? Person.quote is a method. So I cannot just say here, quote, and it will run. There's no reference to it. The quote is a method, and you see it is written on the person object. So I would have to call person first, person.quote, and this will run. I can't get Can You Smell the Rockets Cooking right here on its own. This is a function, or a function call rather. I would have to have an actual function of that name for this to execute. So that's a little something that you need to know. So they are, you can see how they are different. A method is a property of an object that contains a function, where functions are, just tasks that we write. So yeah, let's before we go into classes, I don't want to go into classes. Let's do this. Yeah, let's write our other let's write another person. So what I want you to do, if you're following along with these videos that I'm doing, we're going to make another person object, but this is going to be about yourself. Okay, so I'm going to say var. I'm going to call this var satch. And there's my object. So let's see, because I didn't go as deep as we could with this. So var satch, and first thing I'm going to do is have a property called my name. I like to use camel case if I have multiple words, okay? And the reason why I do that is because for my properties, I don't like to use bracket notation. I know that I can, and when I need to, I will, but I don't like to do that. Okay. So I prefer to use camel case if I have multiple words. Now, if you want to use bracket notation and you feel more comfortable with that, va con Dios. But I'm going to just use camel case. So my name, and what I'm going to do here for my name is I'm not just going to type in a string. I'm going to store an object in there, because yes, you can also store an entire object inside of an object. Go figure. So first name, y'all gonna get Satch. That's what y'all gonna get. Ill name, Satchel Page. Alias, I'm gonna add an alias right there. DJ Daddy Bug. And there's the my name property, which contains an object. Okay, and then after this curly brace, put a comma right there, because that is the key value pair. Occupation, software engineer. Age at the time of this is 45. We got, today's October 3rd. So we got about 40 days till Satchmas. Let's see. My name, occupation, age, offspring. Josiah. Put him on blast. Hobbies. Hobbies going to be an array. DJing, coding, collecting vinyl, reading, working out. Stay healthy. Oh, here we go. Favorite teams. This is also going to be an object. Because I have different favorite teams in different sports. So MLB 2024 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. NBA. We're gonna get right at some point. Lakers. NHL. Oh, I'm so ready. Season starts next week. Edmonton Oilers, baby. I don't have an NFL. I used to have an NFL team, but I gave up on them. They don't want to do right. So, to protect my own peace, I just watch football. Just watch the NFL now. Let's see. I got an MLS team. Atlanta United. I'm not going to say the chant. Not here because I love us. I love us so much. We have the best chant in the world. Okay, yeah, that's MLS. Let's say Premier League. The Wolves, and we are terrible, but that's okay. There's a low stress team, and then I'll say WNBA. The Aces. Those are my favorite teams right there. Put a comma, and I can say food. I'm just gonna make this an array. I don't really have a favorite food. I eat to live. So I'm just gonna put some stuff down here. Salad, yeah. Enchiladas. I do like those a lot. All right, and is awesome. That is definitely true. And then I will do a greeting. I'll write a method function and just console.log. My name is, watch this. I'm going to say this dot my name dot first name. Woo-wee. All right. I think that's it. I mean, I could add some more stuff on here because, there's a lot more to me. Yeah, there's plenty to me. So I could expound on this if I want to. But so you can see here with this object, excuse me. Let me add this. I'm going to show what else we could do. See, tattoos be null, so I don't have any. So you can see we can store any data type in there. Matter of fact, I'll do that. I'll add NFL on here since I don't have a team. I'll say NFL, set that to null as well. So here, as you can see with this object, my name is a property. See, I hover over it and it tells you a property. But this property is the value of it is its own object with its own key value pairs inside. Occupation, that's a string. Age, that's a number. Hobbies, that is an array. Favorite team, again, that's another object. I can contain null. We have an array again. We have Boolean. And I have a method that returns a function. And then it does something weird. So let's look at this. Let's look at this method. I'm going to run satch.greeting. Pause this video at any time as you're working on it. So when I run satch.greeting, I get my name is Satch. Huh, what in the world is that? What did we just do? Here you can see I'm consoling my name is, and then this dot my name dot f name. And what is this? This is a pronoun, if you will. It is a pronoun that references the object that contains it. So here, when I'm saying this dot my name dot first name, I am referring to, well, this is referring to the Satch object. So in other words, I'm saying here where my name is this dot my name dot first name, I'm saying Satch dot my name dot first name. This because this keyword is inside of the Satch object. And so since it's written in the Satch object, it is referencing that object. It is referencing this. Okay. So I like to think of this as a pronoun that is referencing the object that contains it. Like if I say the word I am not, in this instance, is not referencing Tyler. I or me, that's referencing me, myself. Okay. Not you. That's how that works. Okay. So this keyword is a pronoun. That's my definition. It's not the technical definition. Again, do some computer sciencey things, but I'm not a computer scientist. But this reference is a pronoun that references the object that contains it. Okay. So, yeah, practice that. Write another object. I would say write tons of objects. Write them about, an album that you like. Make an object of your favorite album. Make an object of your home, like how many bedrooms, how many baths, etc. Don't share that with me, but write that for your own good, and for your own development, and other things. Okay. And we're gonna look at this here, and we're gonna take this and figure out how we can do some other stuff with it. But before we do that, we're gonna do some more practice with objects. But I want you to work on this as well and practice getting comfortable writing objects out and seeing all the different things that you could do with it. And then we'll do some more stuff. All right. So that's going to be it for this video. This is, again, an introduction to objects. If you like the video, subscribe. More subscriptions. I need millions of subscriptions. Okay. Comments. I need millions of comments. Share your code. Share your thoughts on my unorthodox teaching methods. Talk bad about me. Doesn't, my outfits, whatever. You're not gonna hurt my feelings, I promise you. Yeah, all that stuff, so that I can keep these videos rolling and I can start collecting some coins from it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie to you about that. If I can make some money like that, then why not? I can take that and pay some bills off or get myself a new Apple Watch. Anyways, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And in the next video, I think maybe we'll do some practice with objects. Maybe I'll show you how to loop through an object. and then we'll go into some other stuff. All right. So we'll do that on the other side of this video.